They are. All right. Okay.
I'm sure people search.
Yeah, they did, and they, what else they're searching? They're searching the current Love and Chokes podcast episode, which is 281, which is currently ongoing right now. Hello.
Anthony,
Yeah. So,
look
what?
what you've done to me.
Nothing.
Look how you treat me,
There's
Anthony.
nothing to be treated. There's nothing to be done. This man has said nonsense to me. He wants to talk about UFC 250, whatever it is, 253. I would like to be the first to say this and this alone. I apologize. I'm happy I was wrong. I'm happy that, what's his face? Jan Blahovic. Not, what's his name? Is it Jan Blahovic? Yeah,
You need
Blahovic.
to start saying his name with utter respect.
I'll
In
say it.
fact, like you should have to like take a year of Polish.
Do no
So that
such
you can
thing.
make sure that when you speak the man's name,
Jan
that it is properly
Blachowicz.
spoken.
Jan Blachowicz is now the light heavyweight champion of the world. I like that he is basically Arnold Schwarzenegger. Where are you, John Jones? Where are you, John Jones? That's like literally as soon as the fight's over. Where are you, John Jones? Where are you, John Jones?
You know what someone pointed out,
What?
and I apologize for not remembering what member of the MMA media was the one that pointed this out. But it was either Luke Thomas or Ariel Hawani, Ariel for short, that said that Jan went 1-2 and then 1-2 in his first like 6 fights. He was 2-4. Is that true? Can you look that up?
Sure, we can look
That
that
he
up.
was 2-4 in his first 6 UFC appearances.
Let's look this up. So let's look up UFC.
And so, like, think about the story that tells. Think about the story that tells. Where, like, how many times when someone has 2 losses, that like it's assumed that like they could be cut, and that if they were to be cut, that it would be fair. But here there's a guy.
I wouldn't even say that.
Not
He was not even 1-2. It's, let's see. He lost. He won his first one. 1-2. He lost 3. He went 1-3, and then he went 1. He got 2. He had 3. He went 3-1. Then he went. That's incorrect. Unless I'm looking at different things. I see Ilatife fight. He KO'd him. Then he lost to Corey Anderson. Then he lost to Jimmy Manoa. Then he lost to Alexander Gustafsson. Then he went back and got a win against Igor. Then he beat Jared Kinnear. That's 2. Then he beat Devin Clark. That's 3. Then he lost to Patrick Cummings. And then he came back. He comes back, beats Nikita Krylov, beats Jimmy Manoa, beats Ronaldo, beats Rockhold, and then loses at Tiago, and then now he's 2-1. If you want to count, if we reset every time he loses, then he's
I
2-1.
understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
So it's
So
not-
that's not a straight path
yeah,
to champion. And like I think that's what people imagine. It's like I don't think they realize that people can be a champion without winning like 45 fights in a row.
right.
It's like you win the right sequence of fights. Sometimes you win the right 2 fights in a row after someone has lost. There's like opportunities that come about that you can't see coming. All you can do is show up and go to work and hope for the best. And like Jan is a tribute to that. Like his success right now is a tribute to that. Like I think when we picture someone's like rise to champion, it's always entirely like movie heroic, where it's like the trajectory is a constant climb. But like his route to champion was wrought with adversity.
For sure.
And that's a story that isn't told very much, and I think could be celebrated more. And like it's not like the guy doesn't speak any English, right? He speaks, right?
He speaks English. He speaks English.
So it's like let's tell this guy's story. Like I'm glad he's in the position to be where he is. I think you could argue that he was really placed there to lose. That like in a lot of ways, people were conditioned to see Dominic Reyes as heir apparent because he was the one that fought John Jones.
Right.
And he was the one that people are saying beat John Jones and was taken, that opportunity and that performance was stolen from him by judges, right? And by prior perception of what John Jones can do, right? So on that night, he was better than John, but John got the win. Now John steps away. So Dominic Reyes is fighting for the belt against Jan.
Yeah.
But it's kind of assumed that the heir apparent, the guy who gave John Jones, who hasn't been touched in a fucking decade, essentially, a run for his money, if not beat the guy, that he's the guy, that he's heir apparent. And here's the spoiler. Jan walks in there with blemishes, with dirt under his nails, you know what I'm saying? And fucking snatches the title out of his hands and does so violently.
He does.
Does so convincingly.
He does.
Convincing.
He does.
So hats off to that guy.
It almost makes
And I look forward to telling a similar story about people that I care about.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers. That's all I'm saying about that. That's all I'm saying about that. I look forward to that day.
I'll say this. I think it's interesting, and I could be wrong, but it's interesting that this was Dominic Reyes switched camps back to be trained with his brothers, which was very interesting. Because this was the first time I recall in his history that he ever had all 3 of his brothers in his corner. And I was like, one of his brothers was a UFC fighter. I always think that's always interesting. A title fight.
Okay, so this is a fucking funny thing to say.
Yeah.
As a person that has cornered for a friend in the UFC many times now, or a few times now, fucking, I don't know how much impact a corner has. I think it's fighter to fighter and it's fight to fight. And so, like, having his brothers in the corner might have been the best idea, and he just didn't have his mind together that day. Or maybe having his brothers in the corner was the worst idea, and he would have had his mind together if he didn't. You know, it's hard to know.
Right.
It's hard to look at the outcome and look at that one fact and definitely relate them. It's difficult math to do.
What?
It doesn't mean that, like, looking at uniqueness is the wrong way to do it. It could be, right? So if you're like, this is the first time he had this is also the first time he got his ass whooped in the UFC, right?
Yeah, it's not just that, though. It's not just like, oh, he had new corner. New corner also means you have new coaching, you have new resources, you have new everything. It's not
no
just
respect. I get all that. I get all that. I'm just saying, there's so many variables. There's so many variables. Like, all right, example, right? Like, and this isn't putting my homegirl's business in the street because it's in the street. Like, she had gallbladder surgery. She was sick the entire time we were in the last camp. We didn't really understand that to the extent that she was going through what she was going through, right? So, like, there are unseen factors in these situations. Who the fuck knows why anything that happened in the cage that night truly happened? We can speculate.
Right.
We can make extraordinarily educated guesses, and we can make entirely opinion-based, dumb fucking guesses. But at the end of the day, we're just speculating. All of us.
Right. No, that's
all
fair.
of us. Even the 2 people involved to some degree are still just speculating. They don't know. They know that the strike landed and that the person fell. But there's a story behind why that person fell that goes beyond that strike. It's a complicated game. It's a complicated game, and it's not just the angles, and it's not just the numbers of what landed and what didn't. There's a lot of factors that we don't know about. So who knows how that impacted Dominic Reyes. But there is a uniqueness factor, which does make it interesting.
Yes. So it is a factor. We're not saying it's the whole factor, but I think that there is a factor, and I think a major part of playing things is comfort, and I think that is one of those major parts that if you take that away, it gets weird. It gets weird, and you hear that a lot in stories. Which is common. You don't really hear the success of changing mid championship fight, but you always hear about the failures. There's very few entries of success I can think of in my head. I don't think I can think of any. I think maybe BJ Penn had one, but I'm not 100% sure. And then who else? I think that's honestly it. Can't think of many who had successes at championship level with changing camps. I get what you're saying though, but I'm just pulling from stats.
Yeah, stats. Stat guy Anthony over here.
Stats matter. What I was happy, what I was shocked to learn that, but during that whole the whole event was that I didn't realize cursing was such a big deal in the fighting at all in the cage.
All right, it's not. It's not. I don't know if it was the fact that they were fighting in an Arab area,
right,
where there's rules that are religiously based. I don't know if that was that. I don't know if it was the sensibility of that individual referee. Right? Yeah. But I think, are you referring to the moment where that young man was like, fucking fight me? Yeah. Stop running, fucking fight me.
I was like, that kind of woke me up a little bit.
He was like, watch your mouth. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you know who you work for, but unless you're trying to make sure this dude doesn't get beheaded, which is I'm not trying to be racist. I'll just be racist to do it. I won't try. I'll actually do it. I'm not trying to be racist. I'm being racist. I don't know if there's a crime for swearing.
Yeah. I don't know.
I can't imagine. Wait, I can't imagine that there is, because Dana White is there, and Dana be cussing, bro. Dana swears. Dana swore at the press conference. So one would think that if you use that as the factor to deduce things, right? If you say, okay, Dana A exists in Abu Dhabi, B speaks with a microphone in Abu Dhabi and swears into that microphone in Abu Dhabi, that is probably the sensibility of that individual referee that was like, hey, keep your mouth clean. Like, they're just trying to run a tight ship so that they can demonstrate control, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think is probably happening. And if you don't have control as a referee, now, I promise you we would do episodes with my glasses off so people could see my face. If you don't demonstrate that you have control over the situation, perhaps you can't keep these athletes safe, which is your job, right? So if that's your tool, like, I control the decorum in this cage as well. Like, not only will you separate, but like the way that you interact outside of what strikes you choose and what paths you choose for guard passes and what submissions you like how you conduct yourselves, I'm in charge of that too, motherfucker. Like, you don't just get to say fucking anything. You say, excuse me, watch your mouth. Chase the guy or don't chase the guy, but watch your mouth. You know? Like, I can see how either A, you're power tripping, or you're just trying to make sure that you have control, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that man. I don't know that referee.
That was all of it was weird. It was like it was weird. It was just weird watching that dude. I'm like, oh man, this dude's getting beat. What his name is?
What his name is?
Hakeem Dawodu.
Dawodu.
Versus that dirty Russian.
Sir,
whatever he is.
You're being more racist than me.
I mean, he didn't make weight, so he's dirty to me.
Yeah, there is that.
Yeah, and that was.
Were there 2 or 3 people on that car that didn't make weight?
I don't think so. I think it was only him, honestly. Let me just double check that. But I was almost positive.
There was at least another one because Izzy was pissed about it.
I thought it was that guy. Maybe no. Maybe it couldn't have been that guy because that guy's not on Izzy's team. Exactly.
At the end of the fight, he was mentioning that there were 2 guys that didn't make weight, and his guys got fucked up, I think. And he was like, "This is bullshit." And if you had to take more money, and this is a very good point that Izzy made, if you had to take more money. He was saying, if you don't make weight, if we took 90% of your money, nobody would miss weight. That's I understand what he means. That's not true, but I understand the sentiment. I don't recommend that policy. I think that policy would be really bad for business. I think it's a bad idea. But I understand, especially on fight day, on fight night, having that sentiment. Right? You made weight. You made championship weight. Right? And who knows? Again, there's all kinds of unseen factors. Who knows if there was any adversity that he had to go through in order to make weight? Who knows if he was sick that week? Who knows? Right? But his perspective as being victorious in a cage for a world title after doing it in the fashion he did is everybody should show up on weight and there's no excuse for this. And, like, you're not wrong in spirit. But, like, you can't take 90% of someone's purse. You can't take 80% of someone's fucking purse. That's madness. That's crazy talk. But I understand what you're saying, and I think in general, theoretically, you're right.
Yeah, I think there
are going to be some extreme cases where people just can't make it, and in those cases, if they choose to be brave enough to fight, even though they're not at their best, and they can make a reasonable gap of the weight cut, right? They can make it so that it's comparable. And it's not like a 30-pound advantage or a 10-pound advantage. It's a 5-pound or less advantage.
Right.
Then let them scrap and don't take that much of their money. I would rather them take 15%, honestly. Like, I think 30% is a lot. But at what point is it not a deterrent? Is a real conversation that has to happen, right? Yeah. I think 30% is right at that line.
Yeah.
I think at that point you've really dented this person, but you haven't crippled them. So you've done enough to deter them from doing it frivolously, which is all you can do. Because you're not trying to stop it from happening at all. Because you want under like the bad circumstances, if somebody has a real event where they couldn't really make the weight, but they can get reasonably close and you can still do the fight, you want those to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You want those fights to happen. Where if somebody was in a situation where they had to give up 90% of their money, they just wouldn't fucking fight. They wouldn't take 10% of their money.
Right.
There'd be no fucking fight.
Right.
So like you gotta play both ends. But I understand Izzy's sentiment. You know what I don't understand, Anthony?
Hold on, no, I want to go through other fights first. Let's not. I don't want to jump to anything yet. This is so dumb.
You don't want to jump to the hump.
Nah,
You don't.
nah, I don't want to talk about that just yet. There was more. It was stuff that bothered me way more than that.
You're so mad at me for wanting to talk
Yeah,
about
because
it.
like
You're
there's nothing to
so
talk. Because there's nothing to
angry.
talk about.
I,
It's
I
like,
really want to talk about it because it makes you angry.
of course, now.
I want-
Yeah, I know that. I know that now. I want to talk about
It's
this.
a part of it. It's not the only reason,
Right.
but it's a part of it.
I want to talk
I
about.
like how upset you look. So disappointed in me. You look so
Because it's like we gotta talk about no, because the word you use, ethics. I'm like, I don't care about ethics, dude. We don't care about ethics. Why are we mentioning
Sir,
ethics?
you do so. You're an ethical person.
I am no such thing. I buy clothes from made by tiny people in China. I am not ethical at all. What are you talking about?
Look,
There's no ethical.
buying clothes at Walmart doesn't make you non-ethical.
I think it does. I'm not an ethical capitalist.
That's an extreme. All right, you have high standards.
No,
What's ethical and what's not.
I'm just telling
So
you.
I respect that.
I buy meat
But I
from
can
a store.
also tell you to chill the fuck out. Chill the fuck out. And those tiny hands already made that Russell Athletic T-shirt that you got to wear to go train in.
Right. But
Now, what you could do instead of going to Walmart to get your, and I'm just saying Walmart. I'm not really accusing you of being a Walmart shopper.
yeah,
You could just go to thrift stores and take things that already existed for like $1 and just wear that shit.
you could.
You don't have to have the tiny hands. But then again, at some point, tiny hands in Indonesia or China probably made that too.
Right.
But it was so long ago. Like when it comes to ethics on that level, Anthony, there needs to be a statute of limitations, right? Like if you get it from a thrift store, even if it were made by tiny hands in a sweatshop, it was so long ago that those people are probably dead. So it's okay.
I get what you're saying. I get that. I'm just telling you this.
Anthony,
It's not-
that's not okay.
It's like they're dead, so it doesn't matter. It's like we took their land. They're dead.
I was just making the jokes.
Anyway, so let's just move on. So and I saw the Shajara Banks and then the Eubanks versus the Catalina Vera fight. That was a weird fight for like the first 2 rounds. It's like one girl looked like she didn't know how to fight at all. Like that girl that's supposed to be like the next Amanda Nunes. Like that was so crazy to me that you're gonna say that, and then she's throwing stuff where her wrists are landing on the girl's side of her head. Like the hooks, they weren't like It was
Are you saying her palms were facing out?
yeah, they were like facing out like she was like.
Maybe she was going for that old school Boss Rutan.
I don't know about that, man. It didn't look like that. It looked like them wrists, like them long. You know, you get them gorilla arms. Well, I gotta call them gorilla arms. I don't care. The orangutan arms. They're long and just whipping it, using your hand to whip. It was just weird. It was weird. I don't know. But it was weird. The grappling was kind of interesting for like a second. So that referee got weird for a second. He didn't understand grappling, I guess. He's like,
I missed that part.
He's like, I could imagine that. And then they were like, stand him up, and it was weird. But the next one, which was really cool, was the Brandon Royval versus Kai Kara France. Did you see that one?
All right. So I saw some of this fight, and I missed the finish.
Who cares about it? The finish was cool, but
Didn't they get fight of the night?
I think so. Like the first 30 seconds of that fight was wild.
I mean, I wish that we could play it for the audience.
Did you see the first 30 seconds?
I wish that we could. I'm gonna see if I can look at it right now.
I will find it and I will show it to you.
Discreetly.
'Cause I'm sure.
Oh, you're gonna show it to
I'm
me?
gonna try to find it really quickly, but yeah, it was.
You're a
pretty,
fucking hero, Anthony.
it was really wild. It was like just a hook to the head, and then like the dude's like stunned, and it just comes around and just does a spinning back elbow, and then
Speaking of hooks, what about that other kid? The fucking what was his name? Like Ludwig, that kid or whatever the fuck, who ended his fight with a high kick that got blocked, but then went uppercut hook, and destroyed the kid's head.
that's the cheater kid, yeah.
Cheater. Oh, he was heavy.
Yeah, he was heavy, yeah.
Oh, you mean that guy that fucking cheated, Darren? Is that?
Yeah.
Is that who you're talking about, Darren? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm pro cheater face.
It's like a pro cheater face. It's like, yeah, I heard it was super cool, but it's like, oh yeah, like dude, you were a big boy. It's like,
He was a big boy.
We'll keep talking as we look for the look for that fight. Next one was
Izzy was super hot about these guys being heavy.
Oh yeah. It was I could understandably upset though.
It's also interesting though that after accomplishing something, the second that you see your boss, you talk to him about your homies. I think that's an interesting character character situation there with Izzy.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a possibility of a little insight into how the guy thinks. Because like the second that the dude who's in a position to write you checks and like take care of you is next to you, you're not like, hey boss, I did my thing. You're like, hey, what the fuck about these? What about my dudes? They got fucked over tonight.
Yeah.
Like, I would like to think that I would have similar character in a moment like that. If I'm ever lucky enough and work hard enough to get in a situation where I have the ability to talk to someone who can write a check that big and has that much clout, that I'm going to be like, yo, there was something bullshit that happened to my clique. I need you to address.
I need you to talk about this. It was
Cause
all of it was wild. Like the memeing in that fight. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you about this. This was great. This was the greatest thing ever. So 2 interesting things happened on the internet while those fights were happening. One thing was that somebody said, "Hey, if Paulo Costa is going to smash through Izzy," and so the guy said, "I will bet 3 cans of asparagus that I will eat 3 cans of asparagus live on the internet for you if Izzy loses. I mean, if Izzy wins." And
now, what's the significance of 3 cans of asparagus?
I mean, have you ever had canned asparagus before? Imagine the stench.
No.
Imagine the stench of like regular asparagus when you pee. So imagine like that concentrates and sits on a shelf for months and months on it, and it's like it's a bomb.
So it's just to make the worst pee ever?
No, it's not just the worst pee ever. It's not just the worst pee ever, but it's just the smell. It's like asparagus is not fun to eat, bro. Especially like fresh asparagus.
Okay, I
is
disagree.
Fresh asparagus is cool, but not canned.
Okay, I've never had canned asparagus to my knowledge. Perhaps in a restaurant they fucking duped me one time or two, but I doubt it. And I've never bought it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's like basically a bowl of asparagus juice, and then you have asparagus. That sounds disgusting. And then now another guy is supposed to get a tattoo of Izzy on his like chest.
Whoa.
Yeah, because he lost. He lost that bet too. So that's happening sometime this week. So I'll keep you updated.
Who are these people that were so confident in Paulo Costa?
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know. I mean, I was one of those people. I wasn't confident, but I was like, I'm a little worried.
I wasn't. I thought Izzy was going to win the whole time. Now, I did not think it would be utter destruction from the bell. Do we know how many times Izzy got touched in that fight?
Let's see. I'm sure they have strikes.
Total strikes landed Paulo Costa.
Let's see. Let's go to UFC. UFC 253.
Because honestly, it felt like single digits. Like it was utter domination. And like I saw friends the day after, right, for training.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did you guys think of the fights? Did you watch? And they're like, yeah, I saw the last 2 fights. Because we're all old men.
Yeah.
And we didn't watch the whole goddamn card, right? So they're like, yeah. The main event was great. Izzy's impressive. That's what I thought would happen. And I'm like, say that again. Run that by me again. That's exactly what you thought. And they're like, yeah. Like, to a man, they're like, yeah, that's what I thought would happen. And I'm like, that's not what I thought would happen. I thought that he was going to have to, like, deal with a lot more adversity.
Right.
And the outcome would have been similar. But I saw it happening later, and I saw way more bad things happening to Izzy before that outcome manifested itself. And then he just came out, started throwing leg kicks, started throwing fucking oblique kicks to the knee, and just shut shit down immediately. Just shut down shop. Like, hey, you're about to do absolutely nothing. I'm going to punch you until you can't take any more of these and you fall down.
12 strikes from top to bottom, 2 strikes to the head, 7 to the body, and 3 to the leg.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He hit this dude. Did you say 2 to the head?
2 to the head. That's how many times Paulo Costa hit.
He got punched twice?
In the head, yes.
In a world title fight against a guy that looks like a destroyer, you got hit 2 times? That's not just the performance of the night. That you could argue that that's a performance of a lifetime. You could argue that, like, you may never see another performance like that again. Like when we talk about, like, virtuoso performances in UFC history, I think you have the Eddie Alvarez-Conor McGregor fight for Conor as being absolute, like, brilliant virtuoso type shit.
Yeah. Where,
like, the other guy looks like he simply doesn't belong in there that day, in all respect to Eddie. All respect, I'm talking about that particular day, that particular contest. Right? Of course he deserved to be there. He's fighting for his title. The same thing here. Of course, Mr. Costa deserves to be in that cage on that day. Has done the work. is excellent, is terrifying, right? Is also marketable.
Yes.
Has all the fucking pieces. But on the day, he didn't look like he deserved to be in there, man. It looked like there was such a skill gap. It looked like one of the pros sparring against me.
I don't even know if it was like that. It looked way worse than that because it didn't even look like the guy wanted to fight.
It was like, you can't do anything. You don't know where I am. You cannot touch me, and I will hit you whenever I want.
It didn't even look like he wanted to do anything. Like it didn't even look like it was an effort put into that. It was just like, I'm here. I'm like, it almost looked like, and I was saying this to people the other day. I was like, it's almost like, remember how they used to say there was Conor McGregor has this like hypnotist effect.
You think he was hypnotized?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know how he has like that effect where
he went did some fucking voodoo on him?
Of course, he's black. No, what I'm trying to say is that I think, like, you know how that, like, you know, you have that like wiggle, you have that rhythm, you have that movement where it's just like you're just getting sucked into that motion, into that movement, and into like the way the person moves, and you're just there. You're experiencing what's happening. Like what happened. Like we talked about.
Is that why you wiggle?
Exactly. I'm trying to suck you, and I'm trying to be like, hey, what's up?
Are you trying to be a cobra?
I'm trying to be like, what's up? Like you see
the cobra.
Kinda, yeah.
Not see me.
Yeah, I'm trying to like just like get you into this rhythm of like what's going on. Like it makes it's it's something to it where you got two of like, you know, one guy who's not a traditional striker like Conor McGregor. He's not this has been my whole career is I strike in a singular sport. He's like, no. He's like, I have good striking skills, but he has that rhythm where, all right, people get hypnotized. Whatever their game plan was supposed to be, it goes the opposite direction. It's like, whatever that game plan is the worst game plan in the world. It never goes the way it's supposed to go because of the hypnotism. There's exceptions to the rule where people don't believe in hypnotism, and Khabib is one of those people. And, you know, because, like, yeah, like, it's different. But same thing with Izzy.
I wonder if Diego Sanchez believes in hypnotism.
I'm sure he does.
I wonder. I had an opportunity to ask, but I didn't ask. But if he does, so like we are both aware that Conor has talked about fighting Diego Sanchez.
Yes.
Recently.
Yes.
Before the podcast, I played you some audio of Diego Sanchez saying something that could be perceived as negative about Conor.
Yeah.
Diego would say, I was just saying what like it is, man. But in telling it like it is, he also had a phrase that said Chad Mendes would eat Conor for lunch. And when that fight occurred, it was Conor eating Mr. Mendez's lunch.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. And these statements were made by Diego when Conor had 2 fights in the UFC, and Conor was saying things like he was already the champion. That phrase offended a lot of people. Apparently, it offended Diego, and Diego said a couple things about Conor. Conor was upset about this and said in an interview with Ariel Helwani, this is after fighting only Marcus Brimage and Max Holloway. So that's how far back this goes. He's 2 fights into the UFC career that he has now. And he's like, you can mark my fucking words, dude. Before this is all over, I'm going to fight Diego Sanchez and I'm going to fuck that dude up. Like, he says he's got a vendetta against Diego. And here we are, years later. Champ later. August McGregor line later. Proper 12 later. Court cases later.
Yes, many
all
court,
these things
many
later.
court cases.
You know what
later.
he wants to do? He's like, let me get some Diego Sanchez.
Yeah, but that's like literally like it's what Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. It's like, oh yeah, you want to fight me? Let me wait till you get old and slow. I can really whoop on you.
See, I don't think that's what it is.
I understand
Like,
it's not what it is, but that's the perception.
I think, see, that can't be the perception because Diego was never anything like what Manny was.
Right.
Right? Like, Manny was terrifying champion. Diego was only terrifying when he was at King of the Cage level. Let's keep it real.
Right.
Like, Diego was on a tear when he was coming out of Gaiju Jitsu or whatever the fuck Greg Jackson used to say he did, right? Like, I'm serious. That's what it was called. Like, look that shit up.
No, I know what it's called. Just thank you for giving me a throwback.
So, like, when he was doing that shit back in the day, right, at King of the Cage, then he was pretty scary, right? But once he was in the UFC, he was just a dude that was going to try hard, and he was going to keep coming, and he was always going to get a good fight. He was always going to be entertaining for the fans until lately. And, like, we've got to be honest. It is difficult for me to watch Diego Sanchez compete because I know that he is durable enough and I know he has heart, but he is not moving in a way that makes me feel comfortable with watching him fight. He doesn't make choices that make me feel like he's in a position to win fights. And that last fight, seeing all that blood all over him and all over that canvas, made me wish that that's the last time I have to see Diego inside a cage, but not the last time I see him in the culture.
Right.
Right? I don't want Diego Sanchez to vanish from mixed martial arts, but I want him to vanish from mixed martial arts competition.
Yeah.
I would like to hope that he doesn't need to be in it, that there are other ways that he can continue to support himself and earn for himself and provide a life for people who love him without having to risk his health in a cage. So I would hope that that never happens again. And I say that with like every ounce of the respect that is due to a guy who's had a career like he's had. Right? Like, say what you want about his choices. Like, I know he's a controversial figure and his coach is controversial, and like I don't even care to get into that. I'm really just thinking about like Diego Sanchez is a guy who, like, before Ultimate Fighter 1, like when I was going to when I was a white belt going to Best Buy, grabbing like books of DVDs from King of the Cage, 6 DVDs, 20 events, King of the Cage, all over the country. And I would watch Diego Sanchez and Uriah Faber and these guys that like were making their names, Joe Stevenson. These guys were making their names at this point in these small shows, being paid small amounts of money to bleed a lot and to cause a lot of blood on others, right? Diego Sanchez is a true pioneer in the sport. And like frankly, a lot of people are already going to think of him before this new era in his career that's marked by a new coach, right? That's how people are going to mark it.
Right.
Before that, when he was doing cartwheels and was on his Super Tony Robbins shit, when he was like, when he was on the season of Ultimate Fighter and it kind of revealed aspects of his personality that aren't necessarily along the beaten fucking path, right? I don't want Diego Sanchez to be remembered as anything except for a legend. And I think if we get to see another performance that isn't at the level of skill displayed, not skill within the body, skill displayed in the cage, if we see another bad performance, I don't want to think about the way that he'll be remembered. I'd rather not think about that. I'd rather him be remembered for who he was as that pioneer, as that guy that came through the UFC, that fought in multiple weight classes, and that always fucking tried, that showed up with his lunch pail and his hard hat, and you knew if you had to fight Diego Sanchez, you had a fight. You had a fight. Not everybody's a fighter. There are a lot of athletes. You know, Diego Sanchez has been a fighter the entire time he has been fighting. And that's something to be proud of, and I would like to think that that's how he'll be remembered. And so, like, let's not tarnish that guy's potential legacy by putting him in a position to do it. Like, take the opportunity away from him. Like, a guy like that will fight.
Yes. I think if you're going to
if you'll let him.
Yes.
So just don't fucking let him.
Well, I think that what should happen to Legend, if we're going to go down this route and it basically get you all teary-eyed, is I think he should fight Conor McGregor. That should be his next and last fight.
Not teary-eyed, you son of a bitch.
So next and last fight. That's how it should work. That's what it is. This is, yeah, next and last fight. If you're going to make it like...
Right, so I've had that thought. But I really has some kind of weird vendetta. I don't want it to have the opportunity for it to get weird either. I don't want him to win that fight and then say something awful about Diego. Now,
that's because your own weird superhero complex.
Because when he beats people, like after the fight, it doesn't matter what the outcome is. After the fight, he always presents himself and the opponent in a respectful light.
Yes.
It's before the fight that he says wild shit. So if he whoops him, he's probably going to be like, Diego now has enough money to take care of his family the rest of his life. And like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, I have a problem with this man, but I decided to fight him to... That could come out of Conor's mouth, and that would be grace. and the opportunity to have that moment and make that check would be cool. But like, man, somebody could just cut him that check, dog. Like we have to.
That's not how life works, dog. You know that, and I know
Like,
that.
can we just DM Elon Musk and be like, Elon, there's this dude named Diego. Could you like cut him like $5 million right quick, like without no questions asked, like just trust us.
It's like if only life was
Like
like
otherwise, Connor might beat him up.
that. Severely changes outlook.
Like,
on
can
life.
we skip the part where he gets punched over again and just get to the part where somebody cuts that guy a large check for the contribution he's made, for the impact he has had without Connor punching him? That would be cool. Yeah, like consult your local billionaire, guys. If you're listening to the podcast, if you're watching the
Local
podcast,
billionaires.
write your local billionaire. You know that one friend of yours that's a billionaire. You know,
That local one though.
Joe, whatever the fuck his name is, Billy.
Frank.
Right, Billy.
Frank.
You say, Billy, I'm gonna need you to cut a check to a man named Diego Sanchez for about $5 million, and I need you not to worry about why.
No.
It might happen. We don't know.
Nah, it's not happening. But thing you were talking about, which was after the cage antics, it'll transition back perfectly to the thing that I really don't care to talk about. Not that I don't care to talk about it, but it's just more or less that I think it's like it's nothing to talk about. It's Izzy Adesanya after he TKOs Paulo Costa.
You already forgot his name.
Yeah, I forgot. That's how it should have been.
You already forgot his name.
It's how it should have been.
What does that tell you?
It tells me that 2 fights don't mean anything. And as he's done and he's getting off of him, he proceeds to give him a nice old hump. And if you watch the footage live, UFC cuts away super quick. But then in that slow-mo, they give it to you nice and slow. They're like, watch Izzy just big dick Paulo Costa.
Dropped it on him.
Yeah.
And yeah, so there was a lot of shit talking that had gone on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if the person that said this misspoke, and I'm not 100% sure that I know who said this, because I heard that someone said this, but it was something to the effect of like, Paulo's gonna come all over you, basically, to Izzy, right? Allegedly, someone mentioned a semen interaction. Now, there's a chance that the first time they said it, they misspoke, but then they doubled down on it, is what it seems like to me. Or that potentially is what occurred. So, in kind of an eye for an eye situation, when this person was helpless and on their forearms and knees, Izzy got behind them and did a humping motion over top of their hips, demonstrating that I could fuck you right now if I wished. And there's not much that you could do about it. That wasn't the end of the pseudo-sexual innuendo, like shadow movements, right? So like he fucking goes over to his corner and he's like, oh yeah, you're gonna come all over me. He's like, he does the I'm jerking off gimmick,
Yeah.
And then throws a pantomime, that was the word I was looking for, a pantomime load onto their corner. Which, I mean, this is usually not encouraged behavior. Usually you don't hump people when they're prone, and you don't pantomime masturbation and ejaculation and then throw your ejaculate upon the people, much like Mig did in fucking Silence of the Lambs to Jodie Foster. You don't Jodie Foster.
Well. I will say, what do you expect from this person? Because this person, A, has always done things just as crass as this. Now, not to.
I know what you're referencing.
What am I referencing?
I believe that right now you are referencing the fact that when he first came into the UFC,
There you go.
he is known to crawl in and lift his leg and piss into the cage.
Piss and then clean it up. Cover it with dirt, mind you.
Yes, I recall this. They asked him to stop doing that, and he did. And I think that there was probably a meeting that involved, hey, here's your bonus. Also, you need to refrain from humping and jerking off in the future. Have a lovely night, Israel. Enjoy your $50,000. Please refrain from masturbating and humping men inside our cage in the future. There's no way that was met with like, oh no, that's acceptable behavior. Like, go right ahead and fucking do that.
I mean, honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with anything that happened. That's all acceptable because of one, and because it's a show. You got to make it a show, and that's honestly,
Okay, I don't disagree with you in real life.
yeah.
I think Paula will survive that.
Paulo
Right.
already wrote a video.
And I think people want to hear the argument of, but it's the martial arts,
It's not a martial arts.
and we must have honor.
Stop this. I hate this argument because it gets me so mad because it's not a martial art. It's just because it has the name martial and art, mixed martial art in the general concept of the thing. It's not a martial art. It's like I will call it what it called in the Senate and what it's called in real life. Yes, it's human cockfighting. I'm sorry to say this. That is exactly what it is. I'm saying that it is. You are fighting people.
You were in a better spot when you called it a show.
No.
Because,
it is a show. It's still a show.
No. Because here's why. Because it's not the fucking chicken that draws the money.
It's the person.
It's the gambling.
Yeah.
That draws the money.
Right.
So it's different. It's different.
It's not different because the gambling still exists.
The gambling exists, but it's
No. The gambling exists
gambling.
in terms of advertisers. You advertisers gamble.
Because here's the thing: if gambling is what drew the money, they have the same fucking numbers. They would just sell it all the fucking time so people could have the opportunity to gamble.
Right.
Like the motherfuckers that go to cockfights are going to cockfights.
I get that, but it's not. I'm not
They're
talking
not
about.
like, I'll go if El Fido Negro is on the card. But if El Fido Negro's not on the card, then I won't be in the stands. Fuck out of here.
It's
That's
not.
what they do. They like to bet on fucking chicken.
Yeah,
Right?
but
there's very few people in fight culture that are like that. They're called hardcores.
right.
They're the people that are gonna watch every fucking card, no matter what the organization is. They're informed. They know their shit about every goddamn organization and damn near every fighter in it. Right? Those people are few and far between. So like the chickens draw the money in this game. And so what we had this time is we had at least press conference numbers that didn't just rival Conor McGregor numbers.
They shattered.
You
them.
could argue that they fucking crushed Conor's numbers.
Yeah.
So now we're in a situation where we have to ask ourselves, is there a bigger star in the game than Conor? And the answer just might be yes. And that guy just signed a deal with Puma.
Yeah.
Which is a global brand. There's just I don't know. There's a lot to think about. So I understand what you're saying, but I think you're on a better path, a more accurate path, in my opinion. Not for what you were saying. Whatever you're saying is accurate for what you were saying. Like I think it's more accurate overall. When you were saying it's a show.
Right. No,
Because
that's a fair statement.
It being a show leaves room for this interpretation that it's an event. It's not human cockfighting because they all money.
I'll say this: the money is the sponsors. The bettors are the sponsors. The sponsors are the bettors. They bet on these people because they want to know. All right, if I give this money to this person, put money on this person wins, I get more money from this person in the long run. That's my human cockfighting analogy. Like anything else, like every other sport. You probably didn't hear a word I said. It's okay.
I understand your. Oh, I heard everything.
Oh, okay. I just know because of the
I
internet.
fucking hate you, and so I. Everything you say, I heard everything.
All right, well that's fine, but I think you are right though. It is nonsense. It is honestly nonsense to worry about that. There are other things that are more important to worry about in the UFC, like how the fact is that this guy like literally outclassed this person, that he's ready to fight every person next, and that you're right that he is now the biggest. He is going to be the biggest star in the UFC. He's going to eclipse Conor. He's going to eclipse Ronda. He just has to eclipse Brock Lesnar, and then he's good. He's golden. And I think we lost him. Oh, is he back?
I think he's on his way, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah. So let's see what else is going on in the world.
I'm happy for that. I enjoy watching his fights, and I think he has star power. He has all the made up.
He does.
I don't think anything. Everyone knows.
Starting to cut out, by the way.
I'm the Oh, oh man, am I gonna have to call you back?
Yeah. Let me just hang up real quick. Let's just do that.
All right, I'm hanging up. I'll call right back. Stay live.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. We also have to talk about Deflategate. All right. Let's see if this is a little bit better.
Let's see.
All right. It's a little bit better.
See,
Yeah.
I believe in us. I believe to achieve.
Yeah.
So okay.
So we talked about that. Oh, Deflategate.
So Deflategate is this is this name given to the idea that when fighters come into the UFC from other organizations that may or may not have less strict testing measures, that they get smaller, that they shrivel, either physically or just like in their performances. And that the reason for that everyone cites is possible drug use, right?
Mm-hmm.
That like they were on EPO or they were on fucking steroids, and now that they're a UFC athlete, these things are not as available as they once were because the USADA testing is more strict, and therefore these people go through a period where they're not what they once were. And then often some of those people come back and accomplish things, but initially there's an adjustment. And like some people would be like, oh yes, it's those UFC jitters. They just got those. They're back in the biggest stage. It changes people. And it's like, well, maybe your prescription not being what it was before you signed that contract is what changes you. Maybe jitters aren't a thing, but the shakes of withdrawal really are.
Right.
And so are you alleging?
I'm not alleging anything.
That Michael Chandler is allegedly on steroids?
Allegedly, I can't say that for sure. I can't even use the word allegedly. I'll just have to use allegedly, because allegedly is a stronger accusation.
It is. So
I'm alleging.
You would not say.
I would not
that
say
he's allegedly.
I'm not almost absolutely sure, and I have to cover my ass by saying allegedly, because I will say this, which is, I think you would have known. I guess I think of it like this: is that you would have known that this was happening, or that he's on steroids, only because he would. There's no like exemption for him as of right now, as far as I know, and as far as you know. There's no exemption. There's no USADA exemption out there for Michael Chandler, and
Yeah, but he's not Brock. You don't do exemptions for people who aren't going to draw you tons of money. You just make them wait. Exemptions are because we have this date where we can make all this money. Michael Chandler's not going to draw money like that for them tomorrow. They need to build who he is. Like there are people that, again, the hardcores know who he is. The person that just buys the UFC because it's a weekend party and it's the big fight, that guy doesn't necessarily know who Michael Chandler is.
right.
So like they have to teach us who he is. So like they're not going to give him any kind of exemption to get him in there faster. They're just like everybody else. But a guy like Brock, they're like, oh, you're not gonna. Oh man, we need to write this exemption, dog. We gotta get this guy in there,
He's in.
so we can get this shit going, get this shit crack-a-lack, and get this paper. But Michael Chandler, they're not gonna earn off him the same way, so there's no reason for them to do that. In my opinion, just my opinion, I don't think that you're gonna see Michael Chandler getting any kind of exemption.
No, they were testing him as early as early September, so. And probably even late August. So I think he's gonna be on that 4 months, whatever it is. I think he needed 4 months or 6 months of it.
Word.
Before he can fight, and so it'll be interesting to see what he looks like in 4 months. Everybody keep following his Instagram, keep looking at him, see what he looks like.
Anthony doesn't trust it. Anthony's
I'm
like,
just saying, it's just
Michael Chandler doesn't pass the smell test.
I never smelled him, but I can look at him and smell him from here, and it doesn't look right. I'm just saying.
You know, the smell test is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like, when dudes are on some shit, not all the time, but when dudes are on some shit, they smell different to me.
Yeah.
I feel like I know. Like, you smell different. Just like that test is coming through your pores, you know, like you smells different next to you on the treadmill, dog. I ain't naming no names, dog. But sometimes I'm on the treadmill and I'm like, smells like all the steroids next to me right now. Somebody took everything in the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Anthony, do you have weird news?
Do I? I don't know. Let's see.
Do I? Do I? Do I?
I don't think so.
I feel like I do, but
Sure, go for it. Tell us your
here's
weird.
here's weird news. I've been training hard rounds,
It's not that weird.
and yes, it is. Like usually I roll, but I don't go hard rounds. Hard rounds to me is we put on the clock and we keep score, and I try to win.
Mm-hmm.
Not like we go fast or I try new stuff or I try harder than normal, right? Or I'm gonna push my cardio today. Like trying to beat the fuck out of somebody like it's a tournament and doing it more than once is not something I normally do anymore.
Yeah.
And because it makes your body feel like you did a tournament.
Yeah.
And anytime I do a tournament or even a fight to win match, the very next day I can barely move my head. Because just the adjustments and the seriousness of trying to keep my posture. Instead of just being relaxed, I'll clear it when I clear it.
Yeah.
That preserves my body so that I can teach the next day. But like I've been rolling like I don't give a fuck that I have to teach. And that is weird news because it's new as fuck. And my body is pissed.
Old as fuck.
My body is angry, bruh. But I'm pleased that these things are happening. I'm pleased at the progress that these things are bringing about. And I'm grateful for the training partners that are facilitating these situations. And like everybody's being so helpful right now. I'm getting such good training. I'm getting help from people that I would never even imagine I could work with. And I'm extraordinarily fucking lucky. Extraordinarily fucking lucky. And with that, Anthony, I will bid you adieu.
Oh, I got some weird news for you. There you go.
Give it to me.
Saudi Arabia attempts to post bond for Tulsa Uber driver accused of murdering passenger.
And why did he do it?
A Tulsa County judge reinstated a $500,000 bond for a man accused of first-degree murder, alleging that he ran over his Uber driver passenger during an altercation. But is trying to provide the funds for his release. Basically, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get this dude back to Saudi Arabia, so he can't get caught no more. Once he's in Saudi Arabia, he good. Nobody's gonna send him back. Like, oh, planes don't work over here.
Like we don't extradite, cuz. Yeah, I don't know the circumstances behind that at all. Saudi Arabia does weird things.
Yeah.
Like, do you know that there's a story with them in the WWE?
What was the story?
So the WWE was paid like $50 million to do like 4 shows or something in Saudi Arabia and the shows were called Crown Jewel. And after the second one, there was rumor of some kind of dispute about possible pay.
Oh.
Who knows? But what is true is that their flights they were like the athletes, the wrestlers, were on the planes, and the planes were not allowed to leave for hours. Miss McMahon got on a private plane, and fucking dipped. It was like, I'm out of here. But the wrestlers were stuck and not told why. Then after hours, we're told there's a mechanical problem. You have to stay one more night, right? A lot of these people started texting like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know if we're ever coming home. Things are super weird. Like, people are freaked out. Like, Saudi Arabia is a weird place.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be 100% sold that they were like, yeah, come back here and we'll protect you. They might be like, you killed someone over there, come back here and we're going to chop your head off in the street. Like, it could be anything. It could be we're going to save you from this fucking punishment, or we're going to punish you ourselves. Who the fuck knows? It's a strange place. It's a strange place. Like, I don't hold them to any standard that I hold for the West because I don't understand their culture.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they always have like that. they always have that weird thing where like things happen here and they have like that dual citizenship and they'll just dip out, and then like
and skip out.
Yeah, like they'll do
just drop off some weed money, some diapers for the baby.
I think it's more than some. I think it's more than weed money. It's more than weed money. They got some coke money. They drop off some heavy coke money, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, yo, take this. Blah. My country paid for this. Keep it. We don't care. We make the oil you drive. Who cares?
Anthony?
You're fracking. Nobody cares about your fracking. Yes.
Nobody fracking cares.
Yeah, nobody fracking cares.
It's been a lovely podcast, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
We will meet tomorrow. Tomorrow we should have a conversation that's very positive and very, very strong.
Okay.
And I look forward to the outcomes of that conversation. For now, we must bid our audience adieu.
True.
Internet, you've been lovely as you always are. You've been patient as you always are. One day, we'll have a connection so strong, an internet connection so strong, that it'll mirror the connection that we have to each and every one of you. Goodbye, Internet. XO.